I was convinced they'd made a terrible mistake by hiring me. I was 54 years old, and every morning when I logged on for work at my new job at Salesforce, I wondered if today would be the day they figured it out as well. Looking back now, I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. It changed so much more than just my career, but at the same time, it was scary. A few months earlier, this opportunity had come along that I never imagined would be part of my story. I'm a nurse. After 20 years of clinical nursing jobs in home health, wound and ostomy care, and case management, I had joined a small healthcare technology company. I wasn't there as a programmer or a technology expert. I was there as a nurse who understood nurse case managers. The engineers understood the software. I understood the people who would actually use the software. So I could translate between the people building the technology and the nurses depending on it to care for their patients. That experience eventually opened the door to the opportunity at Salesforce. The Salesforce interview itself was intimidating. I had to learn the platform well enough to actually demonstrate it during the interview and sell it to them during the interview. I remember thinking, what have I gotten myself into? I think I actually cried a little bit on the way home from the interview, feeling like I was so silly for even thinking I could get this job. And then I got the job. I remember hanging up the phone and almost immediately thinking, uh-oh, because getting the job meant now I actually had to do the job. You have to understand, I have struggled with self-confidence or lack of confidence most of my life. So now I'm in this new tech job, and I'm sure they're going to discover that they hired the wrong person. I would get on these Zoom calls with people 10, 20, sometimes 30 years younger than I was. Many of them had grown up using computers. It was second nature to them. I didn't touch a computer until I was a senior in high school. It was a TRS-80, if you remember those, with the connected dot matrix printer and the green and white tractor feed paper. Yeah, so sure, I'd gotten comfortable with computers over the years, but I was definitely not a computer native. And now I'm working at Salesforce, surrounded by brilliant people who seemed completely at home in this technology world. I felt I barely spoke the same language at times. I had what we call imposter syndrome. I kept thinking they're going to figure out that I'm just an old nurse who somehow wandered into this technology company. But the beautiful thing was that every time I admitted I didn't know something, someone, and usually a much younger person, was right there, eager to help me understand it. And slowly, something changed. It wasn't overnight, but one concept at a time, one project, one question at a time. Somewhere along the way, I stopped worrying so much about whether I belonged because I was too busy helping solve the problems. People started asking for my opinion. I'd been a case manager for 10 years. They wanted to understand how a case manager would use the software to better understand and connect with their patients. They wanted to know what they could do to improve the software to help my nurse peeps do their jobs better and more easily. Well, that felt really good. Looking back, that experience changed my career for sure, but more importantly, it changed what I believed about myself. Before Salesforce, I thought confidence came first, but that's not what happened. The confidence came later. It came because I kept showing up, because I kept asking questions, because I was willing to be a beginner. That experience proved something I've carried into every new challenge since. I can learn hard things. And maybe even more importantly, I can survive being a beginner again. It's one of the reasons I'm sitting here talking to you today. Starting a YouTube channel at 60 feels a little like starting over again. I'm learning cameras and editing and algorithms and lighting and AI. Honestly, it's all as amazing and exciting to me now as it was with that TRS-80 43 years ago. Being a beginner again will always be a bit uncomfortable, but that awkward feeling of not knowing what the heck you're doing doesn't mean you're dumb or that you're failing. It means you're growing. And to me, that's exciting. Maybe there's something you've been thinking about trying. New technology, or maybe learning about AI, or taking up woodworking. Maybe you want to learn a new language, or even a new career at 55 or 60. Maybe you've been telling yourself, I'm just too old, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm just not good with computers, or I'm not artistic. Can I say, if you're watching this, you're not too old, and you're smart enough, and you're good enough with computers. I mean, I'm actually not artistic, but I'm not going to let that stop me from learning watercolors. What if the biggest thing waiting for you isn't learning the new skill or technology? What if it's a new belief about yourself? Back at Salesforce, the hardest part wasn't learning the technology. The hardest part was believing I could at 54. That's what changed me. I discovered I could survive being a beginner again. And once you know that, there really isn't much that can stop you. Looking back, Salesforce taught me a lot about technology, but it taught me something even more important about myself, that we're never finished becoming. Not at 54, not at 60, and hopefully not at 80. Maybe that's what our third act really is. Not slowing down, not trying to become the person we used to be, but becoming someone we haven't met yet. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me today. If you're creating your own third act, I'd love to have you join me for the journey. And if this story resonated with you, I'd appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. I'd love to have you along the way.